This episode is brought to you by Paramount Plus. An unlikely friendship begins in the Paramount Plus original movie Little Wing, starring Brooklyn Prince with Kelly Riley and Brian Cox. Reeling from her parents' divorce, Caitlin steals a valuable bird to save her home, but instead forms a bond with the owner, leading to a new outlook on life. Little Wing, now streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus. Head to ParamountPlus.com to try it free. Rated PG-13.
This episode is brought to you by Paramount Plus. Get in, loser! Mean Girls is now streaming on Paramount Plus. Join Katie Heron as she meets the plastics in Tina Fey's new twist on the modern classic. Get ready for more of the rumors, backstabbing, and jokes you loved from the original movie with some fetch surprises. Rated PG-13. Wear pink and head to ParamountPlus.com to try it free.
Welcome to The After Party, a TSF Network podcast. It's a little mixtape of purposeful, encouraging, and fun content from across all the shows who are part of our podcast network. I'm Fallon Klug, your Director of Operations at the network.
And this is Heather Cook, Head of Advertising and Partnerships.
All right. Thanks for joining Heather and I today, friends. We are glad you're here again. We have a great episode coming to you today from one of our favorite duos, Mr. Jon McLaughlin and Dave Barnes from Dadville.
I'm cracking up already. In this episode, Jon and Dave sit down and chat with Saturday Night Live alumni Bobby Moynihan and talk all things SNL and his insight into how that experience has shaped Bobby as an actor. All around funny man, and bonus, he's a dad.
Bobby, we are so excited to have you on.
No, I already told him that. You don't have to say that.
Okay, you did. Okay, good.
I already said we were excited.
Okay, you've already done the excited thing.
Where are you, Bobby?
I'm in a closet in California.
Aren't we all?
Mm-hmm.
Aren't we all?
In a way.
In our own ways. We are so excited to have you on the show, Bobby. I'm telling you, this is kind of one of our Mount Rushmore excitement levels for guests on the show. I
feel like we need to start with just a solid apology.
I understand. I'm going to be a real. I'm not going to say a lot, and
well, it kind of you have enough respect from us that would be expected. Yeah.
Got it.
You have the right to.
I appreciate
the talent level is high enough that if you want to come in,
finally,
that way,
what I've been searching for.
You're here.
We're gonna be fast friends. Okay, so we start Dadville with what we call the brag sheet, which is just kind of like everything you've done that we get to brag about you on, and I'm going to read it. So buckle up because this is your life. Okay,
it's where I remember and go, oh yeah.
Well, that's what ends up happening. Yeah. So originally from East Chester, New York, cast member on SNL from 2008 to 2017, was a sketch regular on Late Night with Conan. This is one of the most amazing things, and I love that our producer appeared in a ton, and ton is all capitalized, of shows, including, buckle up, folks, here we go, 30 Rock, Girls, Portlandia, Sesame Street, Aqua Teen, Hunger Force, which, God, how great is that show, Drunk History, The Simpsons, Descendants 2, DuckTales, RuPaul's Drag Race, Bob's Burgers, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Documentary Now, and Mr. Mayor. That's amazing, by the way. We'll get back to that. Did voice work on The Secret Life of Pets 1 and 2, Inside Out, Monsters University. Married Broadway actress Bryn O'Malley. In 2016, they had their daughter at 17. Yeah, there it is. So tight. He's currently working on Jerry Seinfeld's new film Unfrosted, the Pop-Tart story, and Just Rap. Did you just wrap working on the If movie with John Krasinski? Or are you still doing that?
Yes. Yeah.
Just Rap.
Nice.
And which is why another reason we're so excited to have him on, wrote a children's book called Not All Sheep Are Boring. Bobby, we are so excited to have you. So excited to have you.
I gotta go. I gotta
okay,
run.
That's fair. That's great.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's great.
I
think we have
all
enough.
I had time to hear.
That's actually all the material we had.
That's all I wanted to hear. I, by the way, love this podcast.
It's great. I'm in, guys. It's wonderful. So something that we love to ask people after going through that is like, what is it when you hear those things read? Like, how do you feel? Like, what are the things that you sort of feel hearing this sort of like, this is your life?
While you were reading that, I was thinking it's funny because you just asked me how my morning was, and my first thought was like, just to say it's good rather than say like, today was Fancy Friday. My wife had to get my daughter in a fancy Friday outfit and get her off to school, and we had a rough time. And like, it was an insane normal dad morning. And then when you start reading that stuff, I think it's hilarious because I go, oh yeah, Yeah, no, I did all that stuff too, but hold on one second, because I just did laundry. I'm doing laundry also. Like it's insane. Sometimes it's really weird to hear.
Yeah.
Dave, before you jumped on, we were chatting, and I'm like, the listeners can't see this right now, but like, you've got a very pro setup. You got a pro microphone. Your little like windscreen there has like the pro attachment.
Yeah,
you got nice headphones. And then he pans to the. I'm like, man, this setup is great. He pans to the right, and you're in a closet.
Clothes. You know what I also like, Bobby, that's really making me giggle, is that you have a windscreen mic and then another windscreen in case there's a really strong draft.
This is for my second mic and my second mouth.
Look at you.
I do have another microphone set up just in case. Yeah, I do lots of voiceovers and podcasts. And
so do you do your voiceovers there?
Since once the pandemic hit, I lived in my closet for months during the pandemic. I recorded and produced 2 cartoons in this closet, during the pandemic.
Amazing.
Yeah. And for a while, I spent more time in this closet during the pandemic than anywhere else. And now I go back out more, but yeah, for stuff like this, I would have had to come to you guys. Now it's just let me do it. Yeah, sure, I'll do it. It's in my closet.
Yeah. Just head back to the closet. As a little tear.
Voiceover work, the greatest work that there is.
Yes. It's funny I just wanted to say this too. Recently, I walked into my closet and my daughter said, "Are you going to work?"
Oh.
And I was like, yeah.
Which is a completely reasonable question.
Yeah, I'm going to work. I'll see you later.
I would love when she goes to school and so now what's your daddy doing? She's like, he works in a closet. And everybody's like, oh.
I heard her say it once, and she said her answer was he works with minions. She saw a picture of me once from Mr. Mayor standing next to a guy in a minion outfit.
Yeah.
I was like, I did this at work today, and now she just thinks I work.
That's all she does.
Minions. Yeah.
I always have these moments where like Dave and I, we have this podcast. We're also musicians, and whenever we, have a new episode come out, we take these ridiculous photos, like we will with your photo, and my kids will be around, Dave's kids will be around seeing us take these ridiculous photos where sometimes our faces are pressed up against each other. Sometimes we're shirtless. You never know what the art form is going to call for that day. And I always think of
whatever you're feeling like that day.
Yeah. And I always think of my pawpaw, who was fought in the Navy and was on, and if he could flash forward and be like, so this is what my grandson does.
Yeah.
Such judgment, such disappointment.
Okay. So
anyway,
much shame.
My dad's favorite was Phil Simms. I remember my dad. My dad was not a big Hollywood guy, but I do remember him having said this once, and to this day, it's the funniest thing he's ever said to me. He saw that Jason. It was some rumor going around that Jason Sudeikis was dating Jennifer Aniston or something. I don't know. It might even be true. I don't even remember. But while I was on SNL, and he goes, you see this Jason Sudeikis is hanging out with Jennifer Aniston, huh? And he goes, yeah. I go, yeah. He goes, oh, cool. And you met the Muppets. Nice.
Oh my gosh.
He was real proud that I was so psyched to meet the Muppets.
Yeah, that's right.
What a perfect dagger.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
It's the funniest thing he's ever said.
Yeah, it's just so well placed, dude. Just right where he knew. That's where the knife is going to find the most purchase.
Yeah.
One of the things that we are excited about having you on. So John and I, I'll give you a little of my history. I grew up. My dad is a preacher. Wonderful family, and I'm really thankful. So not the kind that my eye twitches every 3 minutes. It does anyway, but not because of that.
Sure.
But one of the things that was really interesting about my dad is he's got, and my mom, they have a great sense of humor, and so. You would think growing up in a family like that, it'd be no, we don't watch these things, whatever. But humor was the one thing that my parents were always if it's funny, you can basically watch it. And so SNL for me was formative growing up. And I watched it from birth until forever. And so one of the things we're so excited about having you on is that I've I've met a couple people in passing and worked on the show, but never like had a chance to really sit and talk at all for the 5 hours that we'll have you on now for. But like
a lot.
that feels like a lot. It feels like a lot. But so we're so excited, and you'll have to forgive us. Just our enthusiasm for this is pretty.
I get it. I'm the same. I grew up watching it.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So one of the things that first of all, we're not just excited that we have a cast member, but I'm not trying to appease.
You're one of the greats.
You are one. To me, you are in that top 5, 10 all time. No, I mean this.
That's very sweet of your personal
opinion.
No,
it is. I think
there's 140 people or something like that
so
that's ever
funny.
been on that show.
But Bobby,
that's an insane thing to say.
You are a mutant of humor, and so one of the things that I was wondering.
Get the T-shirt made.
No, well, it's I've already got the .com. I feel like one of the things that I wanted to sort of ask you, because you, to me, I think what makes really great cast members is obviously they're funny, but they have characters that are funny and consistent. And you just had, John and I were looking at your Wikipedia page of just some of your characters, and we kept pulling up YouTube because I was like, oh my gosh, I even forgot about. Like, is it Crispino, that does the what a genius character, right? But when you have, I've always wanted to ask comics that have been on the show like you have for so long, you have a character, right? Let's say it's Drunk Uncle, let's say it's Crispino, whoever it is. When you're sitting in those rooms and you've got the inkling, you're like, oh, I think this is good. Do you see that it's happening in the room? You're like, oh, people are thinking this is funny. Or is it something where you're like, it doesn't matter because this is probably the funniest group of people in one room in the world, and this is going to be a hard sell. I just have to stick to my guns and know this is funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think the thing about SNL that I realize now, 5 years after being off of it, and now having since been back once, is like, it was so insane. It changed the rules changed every week. There were times when I thought like, I finally understand this place and I was wrong. And there was times where I was like, I have no idea what's going on. And I was actually doing better than I thought I was. But and looking back now, like going back, like I should have just had, I wish I had just had much more fun. It was everything to me. I didn't have a kid. I didn't have a wife. The show was my kid and my wife and my first love since I was a kid. Yeah. I loved that show. My life's dream was to be on that show. I have a video of me as a kid with my mom going Bobby Moynihan and me coming out of the bathroom like filming I wanted to be on SNL. Like it was and then it happened. It's nuts and it's insane. But like I had written something for like 12 hours that I was 100% sure was going to be the next big SNL character. And then at 5 o'clock in the morning, right before I left, Jost was like, do you have any ideas for update? And I was like, I do this like drunk guy. I make my friend laugh. And he was like, we'll write like maybe like a drunk uncle. And I was like, I love that. And we talked for 10 minutes. And then he was like, I'll write it up. And I gave him a couple jokes and then I went home, forgot about it, and just practiced the other sketch. Because I was so excited about it. I couldn't sleep. I was so excited. I was like, this is going to be my breakout character. And that sketch came up third in the read through. I was, my name was Lionel. I was a suit salesman. And I just kept telling people to not waste my time. He was a real suit salesman that I had when I was buying my suit for my wedding. And I was like, this guy's a maniac. You do him as a character on TV. And it just bombed. Instantly bombed. And I knew it. I was like, what's happening? I was almost laughing because I was like, oh, this is okay. That's terrible. And I have a very, very, very distinct memory of like laughing it off and being like, I hope that drunk uncle thing works because I got nothing else this week. And then like the second drunk uncle ended, I was like, oh, not only am I doing that this week, I can't wait to do it. And I was so stupid because I didn't see it. And like, I had confidence in it, not like, because I was like, I did it. Like, finally, it was more like, oh, people like that. Like, so I'll keep doing more of that. And I wasn't forcing it. I wasn't trying. I was just being dumb. And like, if you watch the first Drunk Uncle, it's completely different than any of the other ones. It's like there's one drunk uncle, and then there's me having a good time 20 or 15 times after that.
Yeah.
There's one where I'm in character, and then the rest is me doing a bit about Drunk Uncle.
It's so good.
So are you, when you're doing that, like a character like that, especially at Weekend Update, can you feel it? Are you like, oh, this is sticking, like this is happening?
I went back recently, and they called me up, and I got a text on a Monday saying, hey, I haven't been on the show in 5 years. I've been a dad since then. A lot of stuff has happened since then. And then I just got a text on Monday saying, hey, are you around this Saturday? Tom Hanks wants to do David Pumpkins. And I'm just like, instantly it was a show week again. Like, flip got switched. And then I didn't hear a single word. I'm in California. And then I just got like flight info on Thursday. And I was like, I guess I'm going to SNL this weekend. And like,
oh my gosh.
Flew in Friday morning, rehearsed with Tom once Friday night, and like realized that like it's weird to go to your old job like again, and like Tom Hanks and Kenan Thompson are the only ones you know.
Yeah.
And like
that is crazy.
It was weird, but like it was awesome. The new cast is great, and then doing Drunk Uncle again. Not nervous. Had so much fun. Had a blast. Came out, had an absolute blast. Like my hat fell off. Couldn't have cared. Like it was an absolute blast from start to finish. I was so comfortable. I called him Seth by accident.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so I watched this. That was arguably the funniest moment where you called him Seth.
Yeah, I've done it before in Drunk Uncle. Like I used to do it all the time. I think it's funny to call him Seth. But I did it so much that Lauren would be like, "We don't do it." I did it before in Drunk Uncle, and then this time I honestly just did it by accident. I think there's like a line right before it where I pronounced his name wrong. I'm getting way too deep into explanations now, but I call Kenan. I've just always called Kenan Creenan. I go Creenan. I just weird nickname thing. That's what it is. And I was feeling loose, and I went to call Colin Crowlin, and I accidentally called him Karen. I was just being weird. And I realized that, and I was like, well, that was stupid. And I was thinking about how I was being stupid, and I called him Seth. I was so comfortable and having so much fun that like it just came out. But that's maybe the most fun I've ever had on that show, was the coming back and doing that last one, because I was on a plane at 9 a.m. and I went back going like, well, that was a blast. Like, it wasn't like I have to impress Dad. I have to impress Lorne. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, nothing to lose.
Every day, like it was nice to go back and just have fun and relax and not be a worrywart.
I got a question about when I went to your Wikipedia page. They have listed all the impressions that you can do, right? It's just like
I've done.
That you've done. So I'm wondering, like, I'm a piano player, and I'll practice some song for a long time, and I've got it nailed. Right. And then there's this other level that always happens, to me at least, where I learn the song, I can nail this song, I can play it in my sleep, and then I get some weird sort of like yips with the song. It happens to me every time, and I have to like just work through that. And yesterday I was thinking, like, I wonder if that ever happens with you with impressions, where like you've got it, like you've been working on it. You've got this nailed, and then Friday to run through, it's great. And then like around before the show, you're like, oh no, now I'm starting to, my brain's like reversing on itself. I can't figure out why I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, 100%. I can give you, you can watch it happen in real time if you want. Also, I also want to say, like, I'm not an impressionist. Like Jay Farrow and those guys are impressionists.
Yeah.
I was somebody who was like, I was like shapes. I was either like I got lucky with Snooki and Guy Fieri, like loud Italians, like fine, like but like they're not impressions, like I'm not really like a mimic like those guys, like sounding like them. Like I was more shapes. Like it was like you're Rosie O'Donnell, you're like, they just made me big weirdos, usually male or female at the time, and like. It was just kind of that thing. I hate doing impressions. I hate
That's fascinating.
because there are people like Jay and Phil Hartman and Cecily and like these people who can just do them. Taron Killam too. Like, you know, like I remember I have like a night where they asked me to play Rudy Giuliani once, and I remember thinking like this is a big thing. Like if I could get this, I would be on every week. And I was just like, and I know now that it's going to bomb at the table because I don't have a Giuliani. Like, and my Giuliani would be me going like, "Hey, how you doing, everybody?" Like, and like it would just be stupid. And it was the most embarrassing. It bombed. It may be the hardest I've ever bombed. My least favorite impression I ever did was Sam Kinison because I actually tried and it was awful. But if you want to see like what you're explaining happen in real time,
unraveling.
There's a sketch when January Jones hosted with Jason. It was a Rear Window sketch. The whole joke was that they're shooting Rear Window with Alfred Hitchcock, and every time she opens the window, she kept farting, and that's why it was a real highbrow one. And and I'm Alfred Hitchcock, and they told me I was Alfred Hitchcock on Tuesday, and I just cried until Saturday because I was like, I can't do it. And my first line is 100% Alfred Hitchcock. I've never been more proud of myself. And then from that moment on, I am Lorne Michaels. I'm just like, right. Yeah, right. Like, it's terrible.
It's so great.
I can only imagine too in those moments. And I think what makes me laugh hard is like, you know, it's happening and you can't stop it. Like it's
in particular, I could hear myself doing Lorne, and I was like, "I'm getting fired!" Like, like I'm mocking my boss by accident, and I don't know what happened. Yeah, it just crumbled.
That's so great.
So one of the things that I thought was really interesting is I was thinking about all the characters you did. Is there was a real, which is so funny now that you have this children's book, and I'm not trying to make some great tie-in, but to me,
you did.
And so many of the characters that you sort of originated for the show, there is this sort of juvenile nature to them. Like there's a real kind of like childlike thing to them. Is that something that you meant to do or you knew you were doing? Is that just kind of like a space you love to live in?
That's something I have as well, maybe, you know, like I think that maybe comes through anyway. But yeah, I think I just enjoy playing confident, infantile adults who think they're smarter than they are or aren't.
right.
Lovable dummies. I love a lovable dummy.
Which is funny because on Mr. Mayor, that's not the character. It's very much the opposite. It sort of feels like you're the guy that's, you know what I mean? That's why that character is so interesting to me because it feels like you're much more managerial. And while there is some, you know, there's comedy and aloofness, but, you know, it was funny. It was fun seeing you play that character.
Yeah, that one was fun to play because it was when Tina and Robert Carlock write for the way I love to act, like meaning like complete insanity, like absurd. We're going to start at a completely grounded point and we're going to go so absurd, but we're never getting off that grounded line.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's my favorite thing to play is like a sincere moment while you're riding like a giraffe, like or something like insane. Like, you know, like sitting on a giraffe's back and trying to explain something very serious to someone is something I would love to do.
Yeah.
I don't think that would happen on Mr. Mayor, but it's canceled now, so it doesn't matter. But I would have loved to have done that. I will do that in my career someday.
I hope we see that sometime soon.
Well, I just enjoyed it so much because again, your pedigree was so much fun and silly, and then seeing you having to try to play somebody who's not that, even though it played that way sometimes, was like, man, that's really interesting. You know,
it was fun. That was a fun character to play. I wish I got to do it forever.
So this morning, Dave and I were chatting, and we were actually, this question came from another conversation we were having about music and how we both have been artists, singer-songwriters for like 20 years now. And we were talking about how much experience we have and just like how it feels good to you know, not be on day one of this thing anymore. And some of the benefits from that like, you know, like when I get up on stage, my heart rate's a little bit lower. I can be a little bit more in the moment, et cetera, et cetera. And so I was curious, like, what would you say your, like, how do you feel your experience kind of like, what advantages do those give you at this point in your career? Do they play out when you're up on stage and, you know, like I just said, you're able to be a little more calm, or do they play out in your writing? Do they play out in your how does that play out for you?
I think now, I guess from what you're saying is like, I guess what I'm experiencing now, I turned 46 in a couple days, and like what I'm experiencing now when I get a job, it's like the first time where like I'm on a set or something, and like I walk in, I sit down, I'm doing my stuff, and I see somebody who like it's their first job, and I'm like, oh, look at like, you know, like or something like, you know, like I don't see myself as like the newbie. But I still feel that way. You know what I mean? Like you still have the anxieties and the nervousness and obviously everything. And maybe I do more so than others, but like you still want to do a good job. I still have that please Lauren inside of me, but also that please Lauren has gotten older as well. Like, you know, so like, I just, you know, like that part of me has gotten older as well. So it definitely, like, I'm noticing that. I definitely notice the change in myself of like, wow, I've been doing this for a while. Like I'm like I can't call myself green anymore, kind of like, you know, like right. That part is interesting, even though, you know, it's like when you list all those things, it's crazy to me because it sounds like I'm super busy with like my acting career all the time. And it's like, I'm in a wonderful place right now of like, I love the amount that I'm working and writing and creating and what I'm doing and how much I get to be with my family and live a very different life than I got to stay up 27 hours a day and write the funniest thing. And if not, I'm not cool. And also I have to live my life like it was a crazy time. That was nuts. I wouldn't have given it up to the world.
That's the thing that is always so surprising to me about finding out about the SNL schedule. Like, you know, like hearing those interviews intermittently where someone's like, yeah, you just never sleep. You're in this constant foot race with the rest of the cast to try. Like you've referenced this, I think, a couple times already. Just in this podcast, is like, you know, you're trying to get on every week. It's about like, I want to be in front of, you know, like it's just like.
I was on 194 episodes, and there were 15 sketches a week. And only 18 of those made it to air. So that's how 15 times 194 times. Oh, like I was auditioning to be on a show I was already on.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like it definitely changed my brain and how it in the sense of like I was like I don't ever feel safe anywhere because I'm like this could go away at any second, like
which has got to be like for your body, like that low level hum of anxiety has got to be so taxing. When people get SNL, sometimes they're like, "Oh, hey, would you talk to this person? They just got SNL." And like, I used to be like, "Sure," and now I'm like, just tell them to get a therapist. That's the only. That's I wish somebody had said, "Congratulations, here's your therapist," and you're on Saturday Night Live, and like, it's just a great, you know, like it's just get therapy, talk to somebody about your problems and your confusing, crazy life because it was nuts. It was nuts.
Are you able to watch the show now? Do you want to watch the show?
Yeah.
Or what's your relationship with it now?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, yes, I love watching the show. There's something about that show that I love, and I just saw it again this past weekend, which is Aubrey Plaza just hosted, and Aubrey Plaza is a friend of mine I started doing comedy at Upright Citizens Brigade with Aubrey and Neil Casey, another guy. He was in Ghostbusters. He's a phenomenal writer. And like we were on as we shared an office at SNL together, and he went back to go help Aubrey write. And like to get to watch that episode, that was really like, I was on the show when people I knew hosted, like when people I had known from comedy came and hosted. I wasn't there when Donald Glover hosted, but like he was like, that was the first one where I was like, Jesus, like now friends of mine that I grew up with are hosting the show. Yeah. And like Aubrey was the first one where I watched and like cried because I was like, yeah, man, this is what this show is about. Like she was the best. She was hilarious. She should have been on that show. She could have been on that show. And like she did it. She finally got there. Like I think she auditioned for it. I'm not positive, but like whatever. I was so happy because it was just so wonderful. And to see them walk through the studio again. And like, it's just everything I love about that show. And like, that was, yes, I love watching it. I love it.
That's good.
What are some of, like, when you think about it now, I mean, this is such a that guy question. It shows you how much of a fan I am, but what are like some of your favorite moments when you think back? Like, either, because I think too, what is so cool about it, or I imagine is cool about it, y'all might have hated it, but you know, you're having these people that are coming through, like, you know, Paul McCartney is a guest, or
I had a slice of pizza with Paul McCartney once, like, you know, like that, like, it's just like nuts.
There you go. That's what
like
I mean.
That. It's those moments. It's. Yeah, I was standing at the page desk talking to Jenna, the stage manager, and he just popped out of a dressing room with a box of pizza, and he said, "Does anybody want some pizza?" And like the next thing you know, we're sitting there talking about New York pizza, and I was like, I worked at a pizza place on 44th, and he wrote it down, and yeah, he's great. And then like you see him again, and he's like, "Hello, Bobby," and you're like, "Hello, Paul," and you're like, "What's happening?"
You pass out.
And then 3 months later, I sang "Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time." Or no. Santa Claus is Coming to Town with him and Bruce Springsteen on stage. And you're just
Come on.
What's happening? And then you go home and it's weird.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Does Monday at the office feel like a storm? Not with Microsoft Copilot. That feeling when Copilot gets everyone up to speed instantly? It's sunny again. When Copilot simplifies complex data so your teams can act, that sun's shining on a beach. And when Copilot uncovers hidden insights, you're on that beach with your people, and you find buried treasure. That's Microsoft Copilot. Learn more at Microsoft.com/AI for all.
So, like, as far as like moments during the show, like skits you were in, even as like kind of not the main character or the main character, what are some of your favorite, funniest moments, and or like, you know, it fell apart quickly and it was funny because of that? Like when you think back.
Well, those are very different questions. Like now, when I was on the show, like I had favorites. Now, when I think back, it's like it changes, but like. I think I have like my real highlights. Like, you know, back then I was like this and this, but now it's like, you know, the Mother's Day show with my mom, like, you know, like that, like that's nuts. Like that I don't understand still. And like things like that. And like there's a bunch of moments like I do all my interview moments, like these moments that happened that actually happened, but they weren't really like life-changing moments. It's just like a good story. Like the very first time I did Update, and like as a big nerd, I was like, oh my God, I'm about to be on Weekend Update. And I was a character. I was the moose in the Sarah Palin rap. It was Amy's last show, and Sarah Palin was there, and they did the rap, and I was just a moose who walked in and got shot and fell over. I'm walking down the hall, and in my mind, I'm literally walking in my mind going like, I'm about to do Weekend Update for the first time. Like, I can't believe it. I have the moose head in my hand, and she comes around the corner with 2 security guards, and I haven't met her yet. And she just walks by me, and without saying a word, without looking at me, just goes, "Moose," like that with her hands, and just walks away. And I was just like, what? Like, what?
This is your life. You're like, this is my life.
Was just like, like moments like that, like, you know, like John McCain tapping me on the shoulder and going, "Always a pleasure, Horatio." And I was like, close, not me. But,
close.
Like those, like there's little things like that I love telling. But like when you said that, like the moments of like, I don't know why I thought of this, but this is one, like you said a moment and it just popped into my head. I have this really distinct memory all of a sudden of when Josh Brolin was hosting. It was the last sketch of the night. We were tired. It was a weird sketch and it was bombing. And it was he was the manager, or he was our boss. And we were all sitting at like a long table. And you know how and he was giving a speech where he was like, you know how teachers sometime give their students like the day to just go, we're having school outside. And his whole thing as the boss was like, well, it's a beautiful fall day, so we're going to have work outside. And we're going to go look at all the leaves, all the rusts, the beautiful colors, the buttery rusts. Who's with me? And the whole joke was everyone was like, nah, I kind of want to work inside, like my computers. And he just kept trying to entice everybody to go outside with the colors of the flowers. And he just kept saying buttery rusts. And every time he did, we all started laughing, but no one laughed. And like, I don't know why, but just the second you said, like, is there a moment, like when you said that, like, I just had this very distinct memory of like, that was a fun moment because it was like, the first time I remember looking at like Fred or like Amy and them and like kind of giggling and like not really caring that I was on TV and being like, guys, we're bombing. Like, you know, like it was like a real.
It's just.
Yeah, sorry. I just thought of that. Like those little moments. There's a little moment in my first show, like where you could see me. It was the first time. It was the second time Will Forte had done that coach character. And like I remember sitting at home watching him do that coach character with Peyton Manning and being like, this is the funniest thing in the world. And then in my first episode, he did it the second time and I was in it. And there's a moment like on camera where you see me, like I'm looking at Will and I go, like you see my eyes like literally go like, oh my God, because it's the moment where I go, oh, I used to watch this and now I'm in it.
Yeah.
Like it's such, like a weird.
That's amazing.
Weird.
That's amazing. Wherewithal.
Yeah, it was like Space Camp. That first episode was like, this is the best. And then every episode after that was like,
Okay, I have one last. I mean, I
That's
have like
amazing.
30 more SNL questions, but I'm just going to ask one last one. Okay, the sketch that you just described with Josh Brolin, where I'm laughing hysterically as you're describing that, but it wasn't working, right? It was bombing.
yeah,
Are there?
yeah, I think it was, yeah.
Do you have any ideas? This is like our version of this would be like the song that I know is a hit. And I just, whenever I play it for friends or producers, they're like, I don't know. And I'm always like, it's just not in the right key or something, or it's got to be on a different guitar or something. Do you have sketches like that just never made it? But you're like, I need to find a show for this sketch.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's it. That's 100%.
You got to write the whole thing.
You write something and you pitch it with the wrong host and it doesn't make it, but you pitch it with the right host and all of a sudden it's a SNL classic, like, you know,
yeah,
or something like that. Like or you see like, I would go, when we first got there was a database of every sketch. So I would go watch all the dress rehearsals of like famous sketch or like, you know, like the rehearsals for Chippendales of just them rehearsing and for hours. And you're just like, my first month on the show, I didn't go home. I stayed in my office and I slept there because I was like, I'm going to watch Chris Farley rehearse the Chippendale sketch. And like, it was the best. But then you realize like, oh, that didn't do very well at dress, you know, or like, why did it do well on air? And like some things just click. I would say most 100% for that for me is David Pumpkins. David Pumpkins at dress was this weird, like, we don't know what, like, we wrote this weird thing. We hope it works. And Tom Hanks just wasn't, like, he didn't know what it was. And then somewhere in between dress and air, he went, fuck it, I'm just going to have a good time. And that's what made it work. Plus the timing of like, it was the week before Trump got elected. And I think it was so silly that people were just like, that made me laugh. I don't know why, but I don't care. Like, you know, it's like, I think a week before or after, maybe it doesn't become a Halloween costume. Like, you know, like I can't explain it, but when I go during the pandemic, you know, first time not trick-or-treating, my first time my daughter wanted to trick-or-treat, I was like, oh, this stinks. But we have to do a drive-through thing.
Yeah.
And it's in LA. So we pull up to this drive-through thing. It's the most post-apocalyptic experience of my life. I'm like almost in tears as a father going like, this is our lives now. And I pull up and the first thing I see is a 16-year-old kid dressed as David Pumpkins with one of those like mass collectors, like a big long stick with a basket on the end of it. And he goes, roll open your the sunroof, and he just dumped candy in our sunroof. And I was like, this is really bizarre.
Another moment like, this is my life.
It's all going to be okay.
Super weird.
So not all sheep are boring. This book, Bobby, I mean, It's really, really great. Like
Thanks.
it's so funny. And also, I just want to add that I don't trust Pierre. Also, he seems shifty.
No, no one does. You shouldn't.
Yeah. So what got you? Why do the book?
His secret is murder. No, I just got. They're going to take the book.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Like, what was the impetus and what made you want to do that? And two, just like the subject matter. What if you're going to do a book, which then you decided to do? Why do this idea that boring versus not boring, and like what is that?
I think it was the pandemic. I was looking for jobs that didn't involve me being around a bunch of people. I had been writing a bunch of stuff, and I had an idea for like a children's book, like a higher grade thing, and I pitched that idea, and they said, we don't necessarily like that, but if you have like a children's book idea, let us know. And I was like, I kind of do, but I didn't, I'll get back to you. And then I was talking to my daughter one night and just started thinking about counting sheep and just started laughing about like, why sheep? Like, are they why specifically sheep? Like, are they like canonically boring? Like, or something like, is there something like, I didn't understand that. I didn't understand why sheep were getting such a bad rap. And then I just thought it was funny. Like, I pretty much just stole the idea of the monster at the end of the book. I love the idea of like a whole book of like, there's no monster, there's no monster, there's no monster. And then you get to the end of the book, it's a monster. And it was Grover the whole time. It just made me laugh. So I just, wouldn't it be funny to go, they're not boring. They're not boring. A little toad is a narrator who just keeps trying to tell you they're not boring, but then bores himself and falls asleep because sheep are boring.
Great. There were so many little lines, like the way that you wrote, like, for example, Pierre, he was the one with secrets, right?
Yeah.
So, period, many, period, secrets.
Yeah.
Like little subtle things that when I was reading it, I was like, the book is genuinely making me laugh. I'm like, I wonder, does this translate to my kids? Is my 7-year-old gonna pick up on that?
I have to read to my daughter. I wrote myself a monologue to read to my daughter before bed. I just tried to write myself like the way I talk to my daughter, funny way of talking about sheep and doing different sheep voices. I just wanted to give people a monologue to do for their children before they go to bed.
Okay, so do you do voices when you're reading to your daughter?
I do. Yeah, we do. I mean, me and my daughter, like, we just improv all day long. It's like it's the worst 101 improv show all day long. Yeah.
Well, because I read to my daughter. I have 2 daughters, 7 and 10. I read to them at night, and they often will be like, "Daddy, do the voices." But I'm like, if I were reading this at lunchtime, I'm voices all day. But at 7:30, 8 o'clock, I'm exhausted. Voices.
The opposite. She goes, "Dad, stop." That's what happens here. She tells me to stop. Like some voices, it's more her telling me what voices to do, and then when I make a choice, she goes, no.
Yeah, you're not doing it right.
Not that one, please. This one, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's so interesting too, because I think about you and your wife are performers. Like that is a double shot.
Yeah, double-edged sword as well, because we have to do a lot of watching and we've created a monster.
So that's what's happened. Is that you? Because it's interesting because, like, none of my kids seem to be leaning musically at all, which is fine with me. But I mean, 0 for 3 it's a little sad. But I was wondering with y'all, because again, both of y'all, you have this daughter, but it looks like it's doubled down on her. Like she's got.
I don't know if she'll be an act. I will say she can 100%. She could be on any television show right now on the WB. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I don't know why I picked you, WB. You're fine. Please don't hire me for anything. I just thought it was funny to say. She's hilarious, but she doesn't like, it's not like she's like, she did a school play and she came to I was like, oh, I can't wait to see this. And she was like super shy. And I was like, oh, that's adorable. There's no like, she doesn't want to get on a stage and perform.
Huh.
But she's just very free and open and loves playing. Like, and my wife is a beautiful singer, stunning singer, and she unfortunately got my ear, I think. She we were hoping, I think we were all like hoping she would come out singing like Little Mermaid, and like she got the Moynihan voice. Yeah. But she's like a she's like my wife. She can do an impression like my wife. My wife is a mimic. Like my wife has an ear
really
for music. Oh yeah, and my daughter can do that. I cannot. She does better impressions than I do. It's crazy.
So what is that like having two parents that are in the space y'all are in? Like what is that like parenting? What is that like in marriage? Is that like, that's just interesting. Both of y'all do it is so fascinating to me,
Yeah, I feel like I'm just gonna say because right now I'm super happy. Like we're about to have another kid. I don't know if I've ever said that.
Oh,
yet.
congrats!
And, congrats! Thank you. I'm super. We're all super happy, and like my daughter's 5.5 now, and like at prime, like silly improv age. So like our house is super fun. Like we just started playing Guess Who a lot, and like
yeah.
Like
I
it's just a new fun time. Yeah. And she's real excited about sister coming, and like it's great. Awesome. It's a really wonderful fun time right now. Yeah.
Two girls is the best, man.
I can't wait. It's
the best.
I can't
so
wait.
What has becoming a dad been like for you in terms of like your ambition professionally?
It's made me extremely lazy.
I mean, it changed so much for me. It was like I need so much less from my career now.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I'm always curious how it affects other people.
Yeah, like I said, it was SNL was my child, and now it's not anymore. I have real child, real children, real problems. I wish somebody had told me about real problems when I was at SNL. I wasn't. I was a child in space camp for 10 years, and
right.
Any old cast members who are listening and think I was weird, that's what happened. I'm sorry.
That's
okay.
What it
was. Yeah, no, it completely changes everything because now it's just also like what parts you take and like what you say changes. Like, it's like, oh, I would do that if I didn't have a daughter, but thank you very much. Like, or I don't know if I want her to see that, like, and then there's stuff where I go like, oh no, she's like, now she's 5 and I'm like, I can see myself explaining this to her now. Yeah. So I don't mind doing it when she's 16.
Yeah, right.
I was a weed smoking manatee once. You know what I mean? Or like something like like it's like stuff like that where you go, it just all becomes different. It goes through a different filter.
So this is another question that I always am curious with other dads. Like at any given night, I go to bed, I lay my head on the pillow, and I'm always assessing my day as a dad. Like we're in the trenches of it right now. A 7 and a 10-year-old, like we're not at the phase where like they're teenagers and they're halfway out of the house. It's like, we're in the trenches. And so I always am curious what other dads lay in bed at night and think about, like what is it that you need to do on any given day to feel like you are a good dad today? You know what I mean? What are the things that you lay and worry about as a dad kind of thing?
Well, that's weird. I think sometimes they're unnecessary, and it's more telling myself to not worry about stuff or to go, don't worry about that now because that's pointless because like you can't control the Earth's climate.
Yeah.
So don't worry about like, is having another kid bad because there's going to be like no space in a year? Like, are you, like thinking about like weird apocalyptic things like that stuff. But like, recently, like I've all of a sudden just started going like, oh, it never dawned on me like teenagers in LA versus like teenagers in New York, like, and how like if I really wanted to make that move before it affected my, like just where they're growing up and like certain things like that, like that kind of stuff, I think every dad sits there and tries to figure out how, like, I have this weird thing of just like both of my parents passed away very close to each other, like shortly after 6 months after my daughter was born.
Oh, man.
So it was this very awful experience to have to go through. And I started going to therapy and I think it all happened after SNL. So I think about that a lot, that like I'll never get to sit down with my parents and go like, man, like I have such a better grasp on life now, and I have so many different kinds of questions to ask you guys, and I'll never get to do that.
Wow.
So like that's what I think about is like I almost plan out like it's my job to tell her this kind of information so that that's what she can use when I'm gone, because like my only job now is to set her up for when I'm not around anymore. And how do I best do that with my time now? Because there will be a time, and like I'm having another kid. I'm 46. Like there, like I'm older. Like it's like there will be a time when I'm not around, and I've experienced that now and the devastation of it, and go like, oh, I don't want her to feel like so lost.
Right.
So I just try and fill her with like, these are the rules, and you're gonna be okay. Not these are the rules fully, So, now I'm thinking about it too much, but you know what I mean. Not a heavy subject for Dadville. Come on.
Yeah, come on.
Hey,
I can't imagine.
Our goal is to make you cry, man.
Yeah, that's it.
We got 10 more minutes. Go, Dave.
I can't imagine losing both parents that quickly. That would have been so hard.
Yeah, no, it was fine. It was the worst. It was the worst. Dad was sick, and we knew it was coming, and like he had, I think he stayed long enough to meet the baby, and then went like, all right, good job. And then kind of bowed out a little bit is how it went. And Mom had been taking care of him so long, she didn't take care of herself 6 months later, and that was it. It was a very sudden, unexpected thing, and like changed everything. So many different things, but like that was 5 years ago now. My daughter's almost 6, like I'm almost 46, and like, but it has changed me in the sense of that I definitely used to, I realize now that what I took for granted, and what it's easier to not be such a mess, like like a selfish idiot. It was a lot easier to be a selfish fool. It makes it a lot harder now.
Yeah, there's so much that I feel like you learn that you don't really learn until you have kids about your relationship with your parents, for sure.
Well, it's like giving birth to a mirror. You realize a mirror that grows up with you slowly and shows you what you and your chosen partner have done. Like it's a walking accountability.
Well, I was going to say really quickly, and then we got a couple questions, and we'll release you to the wild. Have you found? I mean, do you have siblings?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Are they still in New York?
Yes,
she's still
the greatest.
Okay. Yeah. That's the thing that I've always wondered about, is when something like that happens, and you're living in LA, obviously, and you're, on the other side of the country from New York, but, does it feel like that your anchor there has changed now that they're not there? You know what I mean? Is it a weird feeling?
Yes. Well, it definitely, I mean, like, yes, it was also one of those things, like I left and went like, I love you. I'll see you in a couple weeks. There definitely won't be a 3-year pandemic. Like, it was like, that wasn't like, like I flew back and forth when my parents died. My daughter flew from LA to New York 30 times before she was 2 years, like 1 year old.
Oh my gosh.
Because like we were going through so much with that, and like, so I was back and forth all the time. It wasn't a huge deal. And then the pandemic hit, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, I haven't seen my sister in 2 years. Like it was like, that was crazy. But now try and go back as much as possible. But the last time I went back, I burst. I was like, I want to come back, like so bad. Like I grew up in New York. I miss it a great deal.
Okay, so we always, first of all, thank you a billion times for being on.
Yes, man.
Thank you for listening.
This is, and we'll start recording here in a minute. I feel like that was a great
no sweat. I can't wait. I can't wait to get started. Can I go through my parents' death again? No. It won't be hard the second time around. It won't be hard.
No.
Yeah, it's so much easier. But if you could cry, that'd be great. Just FYI. So I'll ask the first and the last two questions. First one, what's the one thing that you want your girl and soon-to-be girls to know?
Wow. Just what I want them to know? I guess just know just to keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going.
That's great.
Like, I think at this point, like, if you said, like, you could only tell them 2 words, I would say, keep going. Like, that's all you can do right now. Is like, because I don't know. I have no idea what's going on. No one's perfect. Like, I love you. You're safe. I'm here. Keep going. Everything's going to be all right. Because I think that's what I would tell myself, I hope.
Yeah, that's great.
Maybe that's the title of your second children's book. Keep going.
No, it's Fatso the Silly Bat. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't know.
Okay,
yeah,
so
definitely.
this is the very last question, and then selfishly, I have one last little asterisk question after this question. But last question: what do you want your girls to say at your funeral?
Oh gosh, finally, no,
It's been good seeing y'all. We'll see you on this.
Yeah. I don't know. That is quite possibly the funniest / rudest question I've ever been asked in my entire life. How dare you make me think of that? I don't know. Maybe I'll have them sing Rainbow Connection and make everyone kill themselves.
Yeah, just so sad. So sad.
Finally, it was a great answer. That was perfect.
That's amazing.
Well, okay, I selfishly wanted to have you tell. I heard the story that you told about when you and Seth played at Madison Square Garden at that one. What was the concert? It was a charity concert.
It was a Sandy Relief concert, the 12-12-12 concert. Yeah.
And you guys, it was like a 7-hour concert, and you had gone on right after
Hour 5.5 in between Kanye West and Billy Joel, who no one from New Jersey was waiting to see, and Kanye was in a black mask and a kilt, and just for the last like minute and a half of his set, he just like guttural screamed and then dropped the mic, and then out came America's Drunk Uncle. To complete silence.
Yeah, you came out as Drunk Uncle.
A sea of people got up to get beers in complete indifference. Yeah, I performed to the back of everyone's head at Madison Square Garden as they were going to get beer.
How long were you guys on stage? Do you remember?
17 years. Felt like it was probably about 5.5 minutes, which was about 2 minutes too long already.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, so I saw the clip of when you came on Seth's show and you were talking about that story, and the best part I feel like is that you just walked off stage like down the regular stairs.
I completely avoided the green room, walked into the main lobby dressed as Drunk Uncle, and just walked through Madison Square Garden because I'd been there. Like, that's the part I know. I don't know the backstage area. So I just did not want. Well, by the way, 5 minutes before I went on, they made me get dressed before I went. So I'm dressed as Drunk Uncle, standing with the Rolling Stones, Bill Clinton, Katie Holmes, Brian Williams, in a room full of Jimmy Fallon. I was like, get me out of here. And 5 seconds before I went on, Chris Rock came up to me and was like, don't do it, man. They're going to kill you. And I was just like, you are right. 100%. 100%.
Don't do it, man.
And I walked down the stairs and I walked home from Madison Square Garden to 47th and 9th and dressed as Drunk Uncle in complete silence. I got a phone call. I'm sitting on my couch. I was sitting on my couch dressed as Drunk Uncle, and my phone rang, and they said, your car's here to pick you up. And I said, I'm home already. And I hung up the phone.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But see, if that set had gone pretty well, if it was like a solid B+ of a set, we wouldn't be talking about
here
it,
giggling.
you know?
That's true. That's completely true.
That set has given more joy over 10 years than a solid set.
I hope so. Yeah, it's giving joy to people outside of Madison Square Garden. Not it, because it definitely wasn't happening inside.
Yeah.
Definitely wasn't happening inside.
Man, thank you so much for doing this. This was an
Thank
honor.
you
chatting
so
with you.
much, Bobby. Such an honor to hang.
No sweat, guys. Such a
honor.
pleasure.
Yeah. And congrats on the new baby.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks for listening, friends. Oh, I love SNL so much. That was such a fun sneak peek behind the scenes. Love that you were here to listen to that with us. Don't forget to check out Dadville by searching for Dadville in your podcast app. And make sure to hit follow so you can listen to more episodes from the feed.
And if you are loving the after party, which of course we know you are, and enjoyed today's episode, we hope that you take a minute and text the show to a friend. Simply click on share episode in your podcast player and send a message to your other podcast loving friends. We'll be back next week. Happy weekend. Bye, guys.